Frank Beard, the man without a beard in a band famous for beards. A drummer who rarely spoke, barely appeared in the spotlight hand yet. Helped power one of rock's most enduring and unmistakable sounds for over 50 years. This is not your typical rock star story. This is a story of rhythm, resilience, and redemption. Born on June 11, 1949, in Frankston, Texas, Frank Beard grew up in the heartland of American blues and Southern grit. While other kids were dreaming of guitars and frontman glory, Frank was obsessed with rhythm. By the time he was a teenager, he was already playing in local Texas bands and sharpening the skills that would later define his entire career. Before there was ZZ Top, there were countless smoky bars, honky-tonks, and dive clubs. Frank played with bands like the Cellar Dwellers and the American Blues, where he first crossed paths with a young guitarist named Billy Gibbons. Together, with bassist Dusty Hill, they formed ZZ Top in 1969, and the rest, as they say, is rock and roll history. ZZ Top wasn't just a band, they were a vibe. Fuzzy guitars, raunchy lyrics, Texas swagger, and of course, the iconic beards. Except one. Guy never grew one. Frank Beard. The irony wasn't lost on fans, but Frank didn't care. He wasn't there for the gimmicks, he was there to play. Behind the scenes, however, things weren't always so steady. As ZZ Top's fame skyrocketed in the 1970s, so did the pressures of success. Frank fell deep into the world of heroin addiction, even admitting later that the band's early days were a blur due to drugs and chaos. While Billy and Dusty were becoming MTV darlings, Frank was quietly struggling with his own demons. But here's where Frank's story takes a turn. In the early 1980s, at the height of ZZ Top's popularity, he checked himself into rehab. No tabloid headlines, no dramatic interviews, just a man realizing he was on the brink, choosing to fix what was broken, and coming back to the music. Clean and focused. He's been sober ever since. Through it all, Frank never missed a beat. From classic hits like Grange, Tush, Cheap Sunglasses, to the MTV smashes like Legs and Sharp-Dressed Man, it's his groove that gave the band its unmistakable backbone. While Gibbons and Hill posed for magazine covers, Frank was the engine under the hood, tight, groovy, and reliable. He rarely gave interviews. He rarely made headlines. And yet, in 2004, he was right there when ZZ Top was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a quiet giant in the background, smiling behind his kit. When longtime friend and bassist Dusty Hill passed away in 2021, many thought ZZ Top might call it quits. But Frank stayed. With a quiet dignity, he honored Dusty by continuing the music they started together. Over 50 years ago, in 2025, fans were briefly worried when Frank stepped back from touring due to a minor health issue. But true to form, he returned, not with a splash, but with a smile, steady, focused, and on time, just like always. Frank Beard may not be the flashiest drummer, he's not on the cover of Rolling Stone, and you probably won't see him trending on social media. But make no mistake, he is one of the most solid, underrated drummers in rock history. His legacy isn't about volume, it's about consistency. In a genre built on ego and chaos, Frank is proof that you don't have to be loud to leave a mark. So next time you hear a ZZ Top song and find your foot tapping, remember it's Frank Beard keeping time behind the beat. The man without a beard, without the drama, but with a story that deserves to be heard. If you love stories like this about legends who shaped music history from the shadows, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to HollywoodVibeline. From the wild, the weird, to the quietly powerful, we bring you the untold side of fame.